Year 2022 is on course to be one of the most hyped up year for anime in probably history as far as announced releases goes. The sheer amount of hype season 2's hyped up adaptations and announced movies that's been revealed to be released this year is enough to drive any anime fan insane. With that being said, besides Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, and Osama Ranking dropping this season, winter 2022 is surprisingly dry for what's to come in the future, and I think it's for the better. So many bangers came out in the last 2 seasons that I think most people are full and kind of need a break from the infinite amount of good shows dropping all at once. I'll kind of go over some of the shows this season most people may overlook and may not know to try that I feel is worth trying, so here's a couple shows I recommend. My Dress Up Darling has become a fan favorite this season for many people as far as waifus are concerned and has picked up a lot of steam as of recently. There is a lot to be said about this show here actually, but it's about a doll maker, Wakana Gojo, who's very passionate about his craft, who's now trying to rejoin society after years of isolation due to his hobbies, which has proven extremely awkward due to early life experiences. He then becomes friends with a fellow classmate, Maureen Katagawa, who's incidentally his only friend now, who's also a cosplayer for hentai of all things, and after getting caught lacking in 4K twice, he then starts a genuine friendship with her after agreeing to help her career by sewing clothes for her, utilizing his doll making skills. This is obviously going to be a rom-com sign-in, and I'm not usually too thrilled about sign-ins because it means subtle messages and, nuances, which can become kind of annoying after a while, especially since I pick up on it so quickly. But this show makes watching porn wholesome of all things, so I can say for certain that this show's doing a very good job as far as trying to push its messages. And another huge plus about it is the fact that it's actually funny and not cringy at all. And the jokes are pretty original, so it's definitely worth a shot this season. And the hype has been picking up recently is definitely deserved and well earned. So yeah. Kiroshii Ai is a romance that I don't think anybody really wants to be a romance. I'll explain it right now. The plot is seemingly about a random assassin, Ryang Ha, who, after a violent encounter, had taken a liking towards our main character, Shatu. And I don't think I'm saying these names right, but please bear with me. Ever since said encounter, Ryang Ha has been relentlessly stalking our main character, and it's the worst kind of stalker. It's a stalker that can straight murder you and anyone around you if he so pleases, which makes it all the more uncomfortable to watch. Shatu herself is a hitman who works for a company that takes contracts from pretty much any client who can pay. And there seems to be much deeper plot here, but so far that's pretty much as much as we all know. No thanks to the plot spending so much time relentlessly harassing our main character in the first 2 episodes. And so far it's been interesting to watch beyond that, but can't help but remember that this is somehow a romance, therefore I guess they're gonna fall in love with each other later. And I am not happy to see that. Also one of the first josais I'm watching, but I really hope they are all like this because, and I know it isn't, but this is a rough. And beyond all that, I honestly think it's worth a watch. It's pretty cool, I think. Watch it. Fuck you, watch it. Suba Koi Bisco is one of the most interesting and confusing shows to have dropped this season. And by confusing, I mean we have hippos with rocket launchers, snail carrier planes with rocket launchers, mushroom arrows that launches humans into the air, giant crabs that launches into the air, raptors, mafia-ran governments, and a plot I don't think most people understand. From what I can gather from the first 3 episodes, there's rust-filled air causing a disease that's killing off a bunch of organisms except mushrooms, which has evolved to survive by consuming the rest around it, which leaves our 2 main characters to try and find a cure using said mushrooms to try and save the world. It also means that by the end of the show, farmers are going to be the literal saviors of the world. And one of our other main characters is an extremely overpowered farmer who also happens to be a mass murdering terrorist. So, if it wasn't for Attack on Titan's, Demon Slayer, Osama Ranking all airing at once, this definitely could have been anime of the season. This post-apocalyptic desert-themed show with really good animation and art style and pretty cool STs isn't something we get too often, so this definitely has the potential to become something truly special in the future. So definitely give it a try. The next show I'm recommending is more for the hardcore anime fans who probably don't have much to watch anyways or want something else to watch, and I'll recommend Alpharetta Season 2. Alpharetta is one of those few shows you know exactly what you're getting and you know exactly what's probably going to happen, and yet still manages to be decent sometimes, somehow. But is still insanely god fucking awful. Especially it being a goddamn harem, which is already an overused shit genre that's hard to do right in itself in the first place. Where it does pretty well in is its characters more than anything, right? Even though the characters themselves are pretty typical, right? We have a small blonde lolly vampire, a literal horny bunny, a sultry demon MILF, an overprotective priestess childhood friend? Classmate? I forgot what she is. And our main character is just a moody, edgy edge boy, I guess, edgelord. And also we have another lolly that's not his wife but an adopted daughter, so ooh, think about that. I think the show in itself is worth the watch, but you're not going to get anything good out of it, right? What you do get is the main character essentially getting annoyed, bullied, and in some cases damn near fucking raped by his hero for about 15 minutes, and the rest of the other 10 minutes is him getting jumped by some of the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life. It's downright horrendous. The show's god fucking awful. But other than that, I think one thing to mention, to say something good about the season 2, is the OSTs are bangers. So if you don't want to watch the show, I guess just go listen to the OSTs because they're actually pretty cool. So go watch the goddamn show, bitch. Cloverworks' latest undisputed masterpiece, Akimbochan no Sailor Fuku, has quickly become one of the hardest shows I've forced myself to cringe through after a while. After each episode, I've actually resorted to washing my eyeballs off with bleach and then rinsing it out with pure hydrochloric acid because it is that hard to sit through at times. I do think the show is about simply schoolgirls living out their youth and fighting themselves through their quote-unquote passions, whatever passions could be at times. But what it really translates to in practice is an attempt to infuse some sort of new fetish into my life in the most unsubtle way possible. Just the random out-of-pocket scenes they drew way too well is enough to get anybody 10 to 20 years merely gazing at it. The show itself looks amazing and the voice acting is undeniably satisfying, but I do not recommend watching this around any normal human beings. You will get the cops called on you. The next show we'll be talking about is called Dale No Neets, which is probably maybe technically an isekai. My first impressions of the show so far is just that kind of boring show you play in the background while you do other shit, except it's kind of funny sometimes. The show seems to be about a girl who's logged into her game physically for the first time in a long while due to a hiatus from being hospitalized, except now she's just chilling, doing random shit and catching with the children she hasn't seen in quote-unquote 100 to 500 years or something. And that's about all the plot you get for the show. I find it interesting they don't outright tell you what's happening and why she's physically in the game, and the first few minutes alone is enough to pique my interest with its nods and subtle clues to leak out the actual plot of the show. But what the show really actually comes across as is a typical comedy-esque isekai you get force-fed 100 to 200 times per each year season. So if you just want to burn time or just have a few chuckles here and there, I definitely recommend this show. Except it's very boring. The last show I'll be talking about this season is called Shikakuma no Saikyo Kenja, which is your typical power fantasy OP character comedy show you get every season, except it's pretty funny sometimes too. But the show can only be explained as a goddamn speedrun where GDQ strats have only been pulled off by some of the top speedrunners in the speedrunning community, because this show moves so fast in the first 3 episodes that it probably rushes past at least a season's worth of content just like that. And the only time it's allowed to slow down and breathe is to show our main character and some side character woman splashing every 3 fucking seconds. It's so bad. The actual plot of the show is about a main character who wants to get a new skill after maxing out his old skill he was born with. In order to get a new one, he has to die or be reborn somehow, which he does. So now the whole show is about him using that skill and just doing random shit as usual. The show itself is, again, another burner I wouldn't usually recommend, but it's just funny enough where I can say, if you want to watch it, watch it. But it's better than, when you're done watching Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, it's something to watch, I guess, so there you go. Alright, well, that about does it for our list for winter 2022. Once again, I won't be recommending shows like Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, Summer Riken, and Princess Reconnect, because these are season 2s and shows everybody knows is going to be good, and I don't really have to say anything. They're going to watch it regardless. But shows like Bisco and Kiroshii, I feel like I dare to say something, because these are shows people are just going to randomly watch, or they're not going to be watching it without somebody saying something, right? And yeah, that about does it. I will be making probably more videos, probably like top 10s or top 15s by the end of the season, but I'll see how I feel about that later. But that about does it. Do like and unsubscribe, and yeah, take care everybody.